Good Saturday evening, everybody. It's David Schlotthauer here in the home weather office on this fantastic Saturday, the 7th day of June, 2025. It's an honor that you all are here tonight on this Saturday. I am sorry that I delayed this stream a little bit, and that's because we had some issues with our which will soon be my VW, 1968 VW Beetle. It was leaking some oil. We had some brake problems, and then we had to do an oil change. So yeah, my day has been pretty busy nonetheless getting that all fixed. And so that is why this is running a little bit behind schedule. All right, nonetheless, though, let's talk about the tropics. And in tonight's discussion, we are going to be looking ahead at a couple of big key points in this live stream. The first thing that we're going to be looking at is the current tropics, because we want to know if there's going to be any tropical development in the next couple of weeks, especially in the Gulf and in the Caribbean, where a lot of you all live. I don't live in the Caribbean. I actually live in California and watching this from a distance, but it does apply to me too, because I do have family that do live in Florida and one that lives actually in Maryland, especially if we get any East Coast slider, we call it, where it goes up the East Coast and it brings some impact. So yes, family can get impacted by this. But then secondly, we're going to be looking at a paper that was released, and there is some good support from the National Hurricane Center on that paper that Dr. Lowry, Michael Lowry released just a few days ago. And this is going to be important because it's going to really open up the gateway to how the hurricane season is actually going to perform. And there are still some people that are going a little bottlenecked that, oh, this hurricane season is going to be a hyperactive one. This is going to be a very active hurricane season. After you see the paper that I'm about to show you tonight via the internet, you'll think that very differently. So with that being said, enough with the jibber jabber here. So two big key points in this live stream tonight. So what we have going on right now in the deep tropics is virtually nothing. And why is there nothing, you might ask? Well, number one is we have an unfavorable MJO out here. Lots of sinking motion. The air is dry. We got Saharan dust. We got the trade winds that are pretty strong. And in the paper, it will talk about how strong the Bermuda High has been this year and how that ranks against other seasons. And then in the Gulf, nice and quiet. And in the Caribbean, nice and quiet. And that's what we like to see, especially for the first full week of the hurricane season, which began on Sunday. So can you believe that? It's been already a week of the hurricane season. And we only have had one area to watch out here off the eastern seaboard a few days ago. However, in the Eastern Pacific, it is a very different ball game. We actually have 3 areas to watch. Yeah, 3 areas to watch out there. And a couple of those areas actually have high chances. So with that being said, let's take a look here at the National Hurricane Center, because it shows a lot of activity. So let's go over to there and switch gears. So this is the National Hurricane Center 7-day graphical tropical weather outlook from the National Hurricane Center in Miami, Florida. And what we actually have right now is 2 red areas. Okay. And that means there is a high chance for tropical development in the next 7 days. And these 2 are Invest. So we have Invest 91E, and then we have Invest 92E in the Eastern Pacific. And why is it called E and not L? Well, that's because it is in the Eastern Pacific. Okay, and when it's in the Eastern Pacific, it's E, and when it's in the Atlantic side, it's called L. Okay, 91L, 90L, you get the idea. And then we got a third area. Okay, this is disturbance number 3. This has a 40% chance of tropical development in the next 7 days. So the Eastern Pacific really buffing itself. It's showing its power at the Atlantic. Say, boo-hoo, I'm more active than you are. And that's what we're dealing with right now at the moment. So 3 areas to watch in the Eastern Pacific. And yes, because I do cover the Eastern Pacific side for people that are watching this live stream from Mexico, maybe in Tehuantepec, as well as Mazatlan, Puerto Vallarta, Mexico. This applies to you. And these disturbances are going to be awfully close to the coast, bringing some pretty tremendous rainfall, some gusty winds, and some rough oceanic conditions. Even so, if these do not develop into tropical storms, which most likely they will end up doing that, and I have model support to back that all up for you all. So yeah, the Eastern Pacific really wide awake right now with a lot of activity. Now, in the Atlantic side, it is quieter, and the reason why it's quieter is just because strong trade winds, strong westerly flow aloft, sinking motion in the atmosphere, Saharan dust, everything coming together for a very inactive, unfavorable period in the Atlantic right now over the next 7 days. And if we actually go back and look at the satellite imagery here, you can see these westerly winds in the upper levels. See these cirrus clouds, these milky white cirrus? That is westerly flow. But then beneath that, you have easterly flow. So the net weight flow here is actually westerly wind shear at around 50 to 60 knots, which is very hostile for any tropical development. And that is why the National Hurricane Center does not indicate anything in the next 7 days. Okay, so now to the global computer model part. And I want you all to really pay attention to this part because I'm going to explain myself as good as I can. First of all, yesterday's thumbnail, I know it was over the top, and that's because I was doing some A/B diagnostic checking with experimenting with a thumbnail relating to my other tropical videos and everything like that. And so if that did come across a little aggressive, I am very sorry about that. I will try to make sure that doesn't happen again. And then secondly, we got to understand that the GFS model is a convective biased model, or what I know, or this is kind of a word that I kind of made up, but it is a convective biased logic model. Okay, so it just takes convection and makes it even worse than it really looks. At the end of the day, what that's going to do under a favorable environment, you're going to get fantasy storms. You're going to get major hurricanes when they don't exist, because we know in track history records, we don't get a major hurricane in most of June. If we do, it's what we had last year with Beryl, which Beryl was not a major hurricane in the month of June. It became a major hurricane like in July, like the first couple of days of July. Which doesn't really count. But the origin when Beryl did form last year was in the very tail end of June. So this model right here is the GFS model, the American model, okay? And there have been some funny jokes about this saying, oh, the government needs to put more money into the model so it can be upgraded a lot more often. That's not really how it works. It's about size of the computer as well. You're just not upgrading the computer, but you have to make it faster, run faster with more computing power, and make it more high resolution to resolve those errors in the convective bias that the GFS actually has. So in this case, this is the 850 millibar plot, and what we're looking for is these darker orange color blobs, and that is vorticity, that is spin in the atmosphere at 5,000 feet. If we put this into motion here on the GFS model, we can see there's that system. And actually, you know what? Let's look at the Eastern Pacific first, because that really relates to with what the NHC was showing. So for one thing, these two systems will probably end earning a name. We'll have Barbara, and sorry, folks, I need to be better at this. I actually need to look up go to cyclone names in the Eastern Pacific, because yeah, I do follow the Eastern Pacific, but not like what you all might think. So we could have Barbara, we could have Consum, man, these names. Telling you, if they could just not have those names and make them more simpler, that would be a lot nicer. So yeah, our Barbara Storm, and then Consum would be our next one after that. And Daliela, something like that, would be our D name storm. So yeah, we are going to be going through a very active period here at using up that for in the Eastern Pacific. So yeah, Barbara here, probably Consum here, and that would be two of these tropical systems. Maybe even a Fujiwara effect. That would be awfully interesting to see. And yeah, look at that tropical dance that the systems do. So yeah, it's really gonna be something. A little spectator show going on with these two systems in the next 3 days, both becoming tropical storms at least, and then it disintegrates because sea surface temperatures out here are colder than average. We have a very significant negative PMM, or Pacific Meridional mode, that is in place right now. And so that's going to allow these systems to just tear apart. And of course, you got deep layer vertical wind shear to contend with and drier air. These systems are not going to thrive once they get beyond this part of the basin. Well, guess what? It doesn't end there. There's another area of interest that needs to be watched, and most models are picking that up, not just the GFS model here. And that one actually develops, but GFS has a really hard time on where is it actually going to go, but it does develop a more compact signature there. And that just kind of runs, or if not, runs into maybe near Puerto Vallarta or even Mazatlan, Mexico. And then that's kind of that's the game, you call it, right? That's how it all plays out here on the GFS. But when we look at the main area where a lot of people live, that's why you're watching this live stream, I'm assuming, right? Because you want to know about my area. You want to know about Jamaica. You want to know about the Cayman Islands. You want to know about Hispaniola, as well as the Dominican Republic, Cuba, the Island of Youth, as well as the Bahamas, in Florida, as well as any part of the Gulf Coast, including for Belize, as well as Belize, Nicaragua, Honduras, and then Venezuela and the Greater Antilles, and so forth. So going forward, you can see that the GFS model, okay, has been very consistent, has been very, 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 pretty much on to something that something actually develops, well, more broad than, say, something that's very tight. Because how do I know? Because we don't have a ball of dark colors. Instead, it is just red. It's kind of stretched. It's kind of, the energy is there, but it's not really tightly bundled. So something's not going to be able to spin up very efficiently. But the one thing that is certain here that the GFS has been showing for a while is that signal there. It's more likely going to be a monsoonal gyre, what we call the monsoon trough that it's attached to. So it's not really going to be a tropical storm or a hurricane in itself, but it's going to be this large mass of energy and convection. And what you're going to end up seeing is a lot of rainfall down here over Nicaragua, as well as Honduras, Cozumel. Those areas going to get a lot of rainfall over the course of several days because of this area of disturbed weather is just kind of all the moisture is just piled about out here in the southwestern Caribbean. Okay, so that's kind of what this is telling me here. But also you get these little areas of spin that the GFS also picks up with pretty strong westerly anomalies coming in here, and then they loop around. And so you do have this monsoonal gyre that shows up here, what we call the Central American Gyre, or CAG for short, with your subtropical Bermuda High over here in the central North Atlantic. And that's been a huge key player in the month of May. And wait until I show you the paper of evidence to back that all up when we get to that point. And so the GFS model now, of course, people are going to raise the bell and sound the alarm that, oh my gosh, there's a tropical storm forming up in the northwestern Caribbean. I will tell you right now, and I've said this many times in my past live streams, that people are going crazy. Like, oh my gosh, it's going to be a tropical storm or hurricane. Woo-doo. Okay, it's going to be a tropical storm or hurricane. Who cares? It's 10 days out. I'm not too concerned about it right now. And you're probably wondering, like, dude, what? David's stupid. Like, David's crazy. Like, why is he not worried about something that is nearly 9 to 10 days away? I'll show you why. Okay. So that's the GFS model, and it's been picking that up for a while now. That Southern Gulf, Western Gulf, okay, near the Mexico coast as well as Texas. And this is going to cause a lot of people to freak out. Like, oh my gosh, there's actually a tropical storm or a large tropical depression headed towards my area. Okay, and I understand your concern. Okay. And yes, I did mention that in the thumbnail that this looks concerning. And in theory, because the GFS has been so consistent with this signal, I am a little concerned. But I'm not going to raise the red or the alarm bell and be like, you all get into your storm shelter right now. We have a violent hurricane that's going to develop. No, we're not going that far. Okay. I'm a little concerned, just a little bit, but I'm not super concerned. Like, oh my gosh, you need to be concerned about this. This is going to be a hurricane. It's 100% going to happen, because we don't know. This is 282 hours out, and yet we have a tropical depression or storm here. And speaking of that, we have a tropical storm in the Eastern Pacific that more than likely is going to develop, because the NHC has something out that far around the 7-day mark. But the GFS is just like, I'm loving this. I am liking what I'm predicting out there in the Atlantic. Like, it's just taking these little vorticity pieces. See all of this? See this like hallmark right here? It's literally taking that and it's being ingested into the monsoonal gyre here. You can see this flow, how the flow turns like this, and it's going like, oh, there's vorticity. Let's put it into the monsoonal gyre and let's see what happens with it. Let's make a hurricane out of it. That's all that the GFS is doing. It's very aggressive in this scenario with these Central American gyres at showing development. But if it did develop, it would bring, I would be more concerned about rain than wind impacts at this point. I can say there's going to be a lot of rain down there in the Central America region, such as Honduras, Cozumel, Belize, Nicaragua, those areas, even in Costa Rica. That's the signal that I'm looking at. More of a rain threat and a flood threat than just, say, a damaging hurricane wind threat and a storm surge threat, if that makes sense. So I'm a little concerned, but I'm not sounding the alarm that, oh, we're going to have a hurricane in the next 7 or 10 days. No, I don't think that's happening. I don't see any evidence of that right now on the GFS, but I am definitely seeing a circulation, a broad one that forms down there in southwestern Caribbean. And then, of course, the GFS does it again and says, oh, let's put out another one. I guarantee you this area of spin down here is going to be something really big that the GFS is going to show in future model runs. That's just how it works. It's just how the GFS model behaves. Okay, so what about the European model? This is when I don't sound the alarm yet, right? And that's because of the euro. Let's first look at the Eastern Pacific. Oops. Okay, don't go out on me. Internet better not have went out on me. I think we're fine. So two systems develop here on the euro. Interesting, though, the GFS has more aggression over this area, this disturbance down over here versus the one up over here. But nonetheless, two disturbances are showing up in both models. So there is model support from the GFS and the euro on that part. And then it just kind of fizzles out. And then here's the third one that actually develops shortly thereafter. And I guarantee you, here is a fourth one that looks to develop after that. Look at how that kind of just spins up there. So yeah, the Eastern Pacific needs to be watched over the next perhaps 10 days for tropical development. Okay, back to the Caribbean. Now, it's not showing anything. So I just want to briefly go through this. It's just not. There's just nothing out there that the euro is showing. It just nothing. So you're going from... Okay, so let me fix that. So you're going from something like this in about 7 days. There's the monsoonal gyre that the Europe or GFS is picking up on. And let's go back here. You're going from that to that. I don't think we should be talking about a tropical system now. There's your monsoonal gyre. Trade winds here pretty strong to the north. Little bit of a weak westerly flow down to the south of that. So there is a bit of a circulation here, but the euro is not doing much with that area of disturbed weather at this given time. As we take a look at the Canadian model, though, this is a different model that I like to use too, to compare different models. Similar thing here over the next 7 days. Nothing. There's just nothing at all in the Caribbean. It is just very dead quiet. Nice, good trade wind flow through here, even including in the Gulf, but still that signal in the Eastern Pacific for systems to spawn, to get going, to get fueled up. And that's showing up on the GFS, the Euro, and the Canadian. So there is indeed good model support over the Eastern Pacific. That's something, at least one of these could be quite strong as they develop. Now, the Canadian is just kind of all flustered out here with the next couple beyond the day 7 time frame. Possibly some of them stalling out, maybe doing another tropical weather dance out there in front of us, to be quite honest. But the Canadian not showing much at all, if nothing, in the Caribbean. And then, of course, you have the icon, and let's put that into motion. Now, you're probably wondering, why am I using the 12Z icon model? That's because it runs out to 180 hours out. The intermediate runs of the 18Z and 06Z only run out to about 100, only out to 5 days. Yeah, let me, if my memory serves correctly. Yeah, that's 5 days. And we're just beginning to get the new icon model run in right now. And of course, we won't use that because it only goes so far out right now because it's still rendering. But rest assured, nothing. There is nothing out there in the Caribbean or the Gulf, at least over the next 7 days, versus again, the Eastern Pacific. I'll say it time and time again, there is going to be more systems that do develop. Now, the icon is not as aggressive as what the Euro and the GFS are showing. Nonetheless, it is still showing that signal out here for two systems that do develop quite significantly, perhaps, and then maybe another one after that behind it, and then maybe just another one behind that for the 14th and the 15th of June. So yeah, the Eastern Pacific definitely going to be pretty dominant. Okay, so let's go over now to this. So now that we looked at our operational model guidance, let's take a look here at our ensembles, because this is really important, because if without ensembles, we can't justify if the GFS or the Euro deterministic models are reliable. We have to use ensembles to figure that out. And what we're looking at here is no signal at all for any tropical development out here in the Gulf or the Caribbean. You can see it right in here. There's nothing, nor is there anything in much of the Caribbean. 2 dead areas, including the southwestern Atlantic, which is great to see. However, this is probably getting a few people's attention on YouTube that make tropical videos that, oh, there are a couple of models out there that are now showing a tropical storm developing in about 10 days. I would really just stay away from that and wait for trends. If this continues to trend in the European ensemble and then it starts showing up in our deterministic forecast, then I would be like, okay, we are going to need to start watching it a little bit more, and then probably start talking about it more in my videos that, oh, we actually might have tropical development. But we are not seeing that here on our ensembles just yet. Even so, there's just a couple of members that are spitting out tropical storm intensity. It's just at least, yeah, pretty much only one track showing that of a tropical storm. And then it's just very phony if you say there's going to be a tropical storm. Bigger signal, though, in the Eastern Pacific, where you can see a lot of clustering on that. Now, looking at the GEFS ensemble, you can see not much going on out here in the deep tropics. That's good. However, over here in the northwestern Caribbean and the Eastern Pacific, the GFS ensemble is going a bit more aggressive in the next 10 days, that it's actually showing more tropical tracks over here. So this is going to raise a little bit of a concern right now because of what the GEFS ensemble is picking up on. And there is like 30 something, 29 or 30 members that run the ensemble forecast on the GFS. And it is picking up that right over here in the northwestern Caribbean and the southern Gulf, which means there is that signal that the GFS is seeing right now that something might actually be more likely a broader circulation than an actual tight one. And at the very worst, this would probably become a low-end tropical storm if it did develop at all, which is not a hurricane in itself. So that is what the GEFS ensemble is actually showing. But now, let's take a look here at the European tropical probability forecast, because this is really, really important. Because this is going to give us an idea with, okay, from a European standpoint, what are the chances for a strike within 300 kilometers from a given point? So we can see here from Monday the 9th through Monday the 16th of June, okay, it is showing that there are fairly low chances down here, but there is, and this is a chance for a tropical cyclone, by the way. Okay. So winds of about 30 to 40 miles an hour, and there's only a 20 to 30% chance. Now, down here in the southwestern Caribbean, there's a slightly higher chance, actually much higher, 50 to 60%, and that's just because of all the vorticity that the model tends to see that spins off of the Venezuelan coast, and it thinks that, oh, all that vorticity means there's a higher chances for tropical development, which I disagree with. I think that the chances here are going to be a little bit lower, more like in the ballpark of about 20 to 30% over the course of mid-June, at least through the 16th. Now, going beyond that, going through the 23rd of June, and then further out in time through the very end of June into early July, that is when we have to kind of start keeping an eye on activity out here in the deep tropics, less of it going on in the northwestern Caribbean and the Gulf. Okay. And then let's take a look here at the very early part of July. And you could already see it is picking up some chances of development very far out in time. I mean, this is 720 hours out from now, with the far western Atlantic having a 10 to 20% chance of development in the next, well, this is in the next 4 weeks, at least in the next 4 weeks. Okay, so now that we talked about that, it's a good idea that we talk about this. Okay, so I want you all to really pay attention because this has really revolutionized my hurricane seasonal predictions. Okay, and you're going to probably be very shocked and you're going to be like, oh, I disagree with David on that. That's perfectly fine. It's absolutely fine. However you want to put it, okay? But this is a paper that so Michael Lowry, which has 33,000 followers on X, very reliable guy. He is an actual meteorologist that tracks the tropics, that does everything, works with FEMA as well, it looks like here. And he made a paper on what does the sea surface temperature pattern that we're seeing right now correlate to the hurricane season that we're facing this year. Is it going to be a hyperactive one? Is it going to be very active, average, below average, or well below average season? And that is why I made this live stream tonight. That's why we're going live to discuss this in a bit more in-depth detail, because guarantee if I made a video on this, it would probably be a 60-minute video, and I don't think you all want to watch a 60-minute video. So because of that, we're spreading our arms out and we're actually going to look at this. So Dr. Michael Lowry, and then we'll get into the seasonal predictions and other factors after we look at the paper that he released. So this is kind of one of the big key points in this live stream tonight. So Michael Lowry says here, we've seen a dramatic cool down across the Atlantic so far in 2025, but will it last? So that's going to be the question, is, will it last? It's on everybody's mind, because if we could warm up the deep tropics here, that's more heat energy for these tropical cyclones. It doesn't develop tropical storms or hurricanes, but it's extra octane fuel for these systems, if you know what I mean by that, okay? So today I will discuss the factors behind it, a new paper that unpacks the unprecedented 2023 marine heat wave, plus a new hurricane season outlook, more in daily newsletter. And so we click on this link and it's going to take us to that. But you can see here a nice long look at with what we're seeing is this patch of cooler water, and just not as warm, above average, like we saw last year. Oh my gosh, we can go back and look at last year and think, holy crap-a-moly, sea surface temperatures in the Atlantic were well above average. Hold on, you all. I'm going to go get a sip of water. I'll be right back in a second. My mouth is actually getting dry, which is why I have this cup holder right next to me. Okay, I'm back. Sorry about that. I need to get some water or get a drink. And yeah, using my new cup holder. Pretty cool. Okay. So, below average sea surface temperatures here, and okay, a lot of. So let's go and read this paper, and we're gonna blow this up a little bit more, so you all can actually see this. Yeah. So, so Atlantic waters have cooled so far in 2025. And everyone is asking, will it continue? I'm even wondering the same thing myself. Will this actually continue? And this was published a couple of days ago by Michael Lowry. And again, this is a big paper that he written and did a lot of research and studying on this. So let's read this down here, this whole paragraph. Let me zoom out so I can fit this all in. Hopefully you all could actually see that without you guys having to put your nose up to the screen, or you can just simply listen in, and that's fine. You don't have to follow along. I'm not going to grade you all. I'm not going to give you guys a SAT test or anything like that. So to start last hurricane season, waters across the Atlantic Main Development Region, or the MDR, which stands again for Main Development Region, were most of our strongest hurricanes formed during the peak months of the hurricane season, were experiencing chart-topping warmth. Nearly 90% of the main development region was at record or near record warmth at this time last hurricane season. So you could look at that map and be like, holy tamale. Yeah, it was like hot tamale pie, right? Just off the charts, well above average, nothing that we have ever seen before. It's been ages, probably the Stone Age, since we've seen something like this. But this year, where is it? Where is it? Where is that record warmest? It's in the Gulf. It's in the southwestern Atlantic. So it's somewhere, and it's somewhere else. And that is what is important here. Is this right here. It's not down here, but it's also up here, which means if we get a tropical storm or hurricane that forms down here and it travels into the Gulf, well, it just means there's more heat energy waiting to be released in the form of something that no one wants to see, that could revolutionize with Milton. You know, we don't want to get to Milton because Milton was a hypercane. It was just one of the strongest hurricanes that I've ever seen from an NHC standpoint since Dorian. So it was a remarkable and unprecedented marine heat wave that began a year earlier in the spring of 2023. But since the beginning of 2025, the MDR has cooled significantly, with water temperatures falling to near seasonal averages from the Caribbean to Africa. A paltry 6% of the MDR is at record or near record warmth this week. Okay, so that means just parts of it are seeing some of the warmest ever recorded. Ever. Okay, and this goes all the way back to 1981. So it's a striking and welcome turn of events to start the new hurricane season, and many portend a less active overall season in 2025 than what we've observed in recent years. And so the new paper then unpacks the 2023's unprecedented Atlantic heat wave. A new peer-reviewed paper published on Wednesday in the Eastern Scientific Journal Nature by the team of Australian and German climate scientists, oceanographers, and meteorologists explore the driving factors behind the extreme heat wave across the North Atlantic that took off in 2023. So look where we were. Look where we were. Okay, here's 2024. Literally, actually, 2023 was by far even far worse than what we were last year. I mean, look how high that went up. Sea surface temperatures overall in the MDR were at least almost 85 degrees Fahrenheit. That's ridiculous. Okay, and look where we are. Yeah, look where we are. We're very close to average. Last year, we were up here, so we are definitely cooler by a good solid 4 degrees, almost 4 degrees cooler in Fahrenheit than we were this time last year. Okay, and 4 degrees and it doesn't seem like much. You're not going to notice that. But wow, do you put it in a large sense in the sea surface temperature part of the main development region, and it really does make a difference. It does. Okay. It really, I'm not joking when I say that. Okay. So while several factors were at play, including background global warming, reduced Saharan dust cover, and a developing El Nino in the eastern equatorial Pacific, the biggest driver was a weaker than average Bermuda High. Yes. I'll even add some little sound effects. How does that sound? So it was clearly the biggest driver was a
weaker than average Bermuda High.
That's what it was. Okay. And that in itself means less strong trade winds in the deep tropics. Let's take a look. Let's take a look at this. This is a lot stronger than it was last year. Stronger trades blowing over the waters help cool them down, because that's part of mixing the oceans up, leading to evaporative cooling, because heat is being driven out of these oceans because of the strong trade winds. And it takes usually weeks, if not months, for those waters. Yeah, in a little bit. And so that's why we look at this stuff, okay? It's more than just sea surface temperatures. It's also the overall pattern that we look at. So the biggest driver was a weaker than average Bermuda High that reduced typically the brisk to east wind, moving trade winds that blow from Africa to the Caribbean. This reduced ocean mixing and rapidly warmed Atlantic waters. Okay, it allowed the waters to really warm up pretty quickly. We didn't see that so far, versus in the Gulf, we saw that happen already. We wrote about this extensively the past few seasons and identified that weaker trade winds were a culprit of the warming at the same time, now confirmed by months of peer-reviewed research. So a lot of, even the National Hurricane Center actually reviewed this and was like, oh, okay, I can see that being the case. So this is realistic science here that tells us with what Bermuda highs can do. If they're weaker, oceans warm up. If they're stronger, they cool down a little bit. All right, so we can see here, record Atlantic warmth was because of this weaker subtropical high, not just at the lower levels, but also at 500 millibars. There was more troughing out here that kind of cut across, and it really just kind of kept things really shunted down here. The high was further south than it should be, and it was a lot weaker to begin with, and that's why the trade winds were actually weaker. All right, to add fuel to the ocean fire, outbreaks of Saharan dust, which might veil sunlight as dust cover peaks in June and early July, have been largely absent since April. The result is the warmest Atlantic we've ever seen this early in the season, going back to at least 43 years. Again, this is looking back at this was like looking at this last year, that's how it was. Like, I mean, it was just crazy. Okay, this is exactly what the peer-reviewed and research now confirms this. Okay, so now everybody's asking, will the Atlantic cool down persist any longer? Will we see a big warm-up happening in the Atlantic? Well, let's read more of this to find out. The Atlantic waters have begun to take on a pattern that's often less conducive to very active hurricane seasons, with cooler than average waters in the deep tropics and warmer than average waters in the subtropics. What are we seeing? We're clearly seeing the opposite. In fact, there is early indications right now that we might be developing a cold horseshoe shape, similar to with what is going on in the Eastern Pacific, with a negative phase of the Pacific meridional mode that we're seeing right now, that PMM. Yeah, I want to just make sure I said that correctly. Yeah, so Pacific meridional mode and the AMO looks like it's going to flip here, perhaps. And if it does, it's going to be very interesting, but it's usually... this usually suppresses things in some sense. Will we get a below average season? I don't think that's going to happen right now, but I'm starting to lean in that direction just a little bit, and I'll show you why here in a second. An updated 2025 hurricane season outlook was just released today by the European Center for Medium Range Weather Forecasting, the ECMWF. Yeah, the ECMWF. The group behind the famed Euro model, calling for an overall average Atlantic hurricane season ahead with between 10 and 17 named storms. The 30-year average is about 14 named storms. So if you look at this and look at the 14 to the 17s, so it's calling for about an average season, and that's what it's telling us. But some other forecasters are even going lower than that, and I'll show you who those are in a second. So you can see here, average activity this season would be consistent with the pattern of water temperatures we see today across the North Atlantic. However, it is worth noting that the ECMWF hurricane outlooks aren't especially skillful at this range, and they have missed appreciably in years past, like in 2020, when they indicated that the season would be an actual average year, similar to this year. But guess what? We all know how busy that season ended up with 31 named storms. Yeah, 31 named storms, way above than what the Euro actually predicted. So, at least for the foreseeable future, forecast models predict strong trade winds will persist due to a stronger than average Bermuda Azores high, and likely due to the fact that there's more large-scale ridging that is in place over the North Atlantic and also over Africa. Okay, so that's going to be the driver. So the Bermuda High it looks like it's going to stay with us for a while. Okay. And I'll get to your guys' questions. I know you guys feel like I'm ignoring you, but I want to get through this first, because or else we're just going to be at this for several hours. Okay, so this, plus with the extensive Saharan dust plume, which acts as a big sun shield, should keep waters from warming very much for most of June. So we're already seeing early predictions at the waters in the Caribbean, not in the Caribbean, but in the main development region of the Atlantic, may in fact cool down a little bit more than just warm up, which means by the end of June, I wouldn't be surprised if we're actually further below average than even average in itself. The Atlantic will stay quiet around to round out the first full week of the hurricane season, with no signs of activity at least into the middle part of next week. So that's pretty much through the middle of June. We're not going to be seeing much, although we are going to need a watch over here in the far northwestern Caribbean and in the Gulf. Okay, so that's what that is. So how do you all like that? How did you like that paper that I showed you all? And then we'll move on. Did you guys understand that? Was it pretty easy to understand? Let me know. Because I thought I did really well there. Okay. So another thing we want to look at, a signal for an active African monsoon is one of the most prominent features on the new ECMWF seasonal guidance. Storms in Central Africa can be hurricane seedlings. However, patterns of sinking air in the Atlantic may deter storms, making conditions less conducive than last year. Yeah, so we're leaning away from more of a more active hurricane season than looking at a more average one, in other words. Okay. So, and this is what it's showing right. Oh, no, that says May 6th. So this is the latest guidance right here. And if we play this through, you can see through October, this is November. So this is June, July, August, September, October, and November, December. And look at all that sinking air. So that's going to be the huge player from the European model that Binnell is talking about. And with that being said, let's go and look at our seasonal guidance, because this is important for you all, because guess whose forecast is on this? You guys would probably never guess. And this is a bit of that interaction time, because I just don't want to be talking and ignoring some of you or all of you. But yeah, someone was asking, with a stronger Bermuda High, will things track further west into the Gulf? Most likely, yes. Typically, with a stronger Bermuda High, storms develop at lower latitudes than what they were at last year. And so they're able to take a hitchhike over into the Caribbean. And then if the steering currents are strong enough, they can take a hitchhike into the Gulf. So yes, chances for systems to go further west into the Caribbean and the Gulf are much higher this year, I believe, than what we had last year. So yeah, you guys didn't catch on to that, but my forecast is right here. The one that I have highlighted is my forecast. And if you don't believe me, go and click on this link if you want, and you could find my forecast there. Yeah, I'm more than just on YouTube. I actually send out my forecast to agencies like this. And this is actually the Colorado State University website. So, yeah, so my prediction, okay, this is sort of official. You know, I kind of had to think this one through. I feel like I'm a bit on the low side with this forecast, but I can see it just being down a little bit from what we were seeing a couple of months ago. So yeah, a couple of you are saying that my forecast is quite low. I do predict 10 to 14 named storms. And again, the reason why is because of the sea surface temperature configuration that we're seeing. Again, I read through this paper. Okay, I looked over this paper and I looked at, okay, this is what we're seeing. And then a stronger Bermuda High, we can confirm that. A lot of us can. If you look at the GFS, you can just see how strong the trade winds have been. The Saharan dust, and especially the European model seasonal forecast has also been downtrending in its last couple of forecasts. So, in my opinion, you guys don't have to agree with me. We all have our different forecasts, but I am on the low end side of things. But 14 is an average season. You know that, right? 14 named storms. So, excuse me, man. So I am predicting an average to below average hurricane season. Okay. And look at this. The UK Met, which released their forecast not long ago, is predicting 9 to 23 named storms. And look at this. The Euro, 10 to 19 named storms. Look at Penn State University, which is Pennsylvania State, 10 to 18 named storms. So I'm just, my range is not as high. I'm predicting 10 to 14 named storms, and that's perfectly fine. When you take a look at our hurricanes, though, let's run that through. So my hurricanes is a bit on the conservative side. Based on my research, we are more likely going to be in the upper end of that range, more like, say, 5 to 7 hurricanes is what my prediction is here. But all the other agencies are going a little higher. My gosh, 26 Max is predicting up to 14 hurricanes. That's pretty dang bullish. That's really, really bullish when you think about it. And then UK Met is predicting up to 13 hurricanes this year. And then when we go to major hurricanes, let's run that through. Yeah, I'm pretty low on that side of things. 1 to 2 major hurricanes. I think I'm a little too low on that when I did my research. I am sorry that it looks like that. I did not intend to really do that on purpose, but I really thought this through very carefully, and that's what I'm predicting. 1 to 2 major hurricanes. AccuWeather up to 5, and my gosh, UK Met up to 7 major hurricanes. That would be a blockbuster season, I'm telling you. Okay, and then when it comes to ace points, how much accumulated cyclone energy, I'm pretty much average. I'm right in the middle. I'm predicting 120 to 140 ace points, so more than likely long-tracked hurricanes, and that's pretty much the theme this year. Is I honestly think we're going to have more long-tracked tropical storms and hurricanes than what we had last year because of the steering flow that we're going to see with that Bermuda High. The UK Met going ballistic here, up to 247 ace points. That is just insane. And then when you look at 268 WX, up to 302. Up to 302 is just sickening. That's very, very high. That's very bullish. Very bullish. I don't think that's happening. The North American Multi-Model Ensemble, though, predicting a very, very busy season because probably less named storms, but again, more long-tracked hurricanes is what I'm thinking. Okay, so I want to get through this a little faster and then get to your guys' questions because we've been live for 58 minutes. And I felt like I've been ignoring you all, so sorry about that. But you can see here over the next week or so, a lot of upward motion in the atmosphere over the Atlantic. Not really going to contribute to too much, but I bet you once that rising motion gets more into more over Africa, I think it's going to start waking things up a little bit. I strongly believe we're probably going to have to keep an eye on very late June for the potential for tropical development, but not so much over here where all this green is like what we were thinking, just because there's not much in the way of convective coupled Kelvin wave activity. So this is kind of not going to allow for much in the Atlantic, which is good. So we got lucky there. But here's another area of rising motion. This is what we call a convective coupled Kelvin wave that might kickstart something once that gets into the central and eastern Atlantic. And then here comes another convective coupled Kelvin wave, perhaps by early July. So if anything, it would be these two areas right here that we would need to watch for tropical development in the long term, mid to late, or more like late June into early July, and then we'll see what happens after that. But looking at this right now, unfavorable for now, probably going to keep us going through at least the 15th, maybe even the 19th of June, and then things might wake up after that. Okay, really quickly, I wanted to show you all the sea surface temperatures. Hello. How's everybody? So looking at those sea surface temperatures right now, definitely warmer than it should be in the Caribbean, parts of the Caribbean, and the Gulf. Certainly a testimony for itself, seeing some of the warmer sea surface temperatures. But out here, I mean, come on, look where the 80-degree isotherm actually is. Look how far south this actually is versus way up here to the north, almost near Bermuda. So there is definitely a different sea surface temperature pattern, with cooler over here and much warmer over here in the Caribbean, the Gulf, and the southwestern Atlantic. And we can see that here on our sea surface temperature anomalies. There's your cold patch of water. It is warmer than average over here. And then looks like we have a Atlantic Nina trying to develop with an above average Caribbean and Gulf that we're seeing right now. And of course, the southwestern Atlantic is running above average. And looking closely at the Gulf, you can see right now, most of the Gulf right now is running in the low to mid 80s right now. Definitely have lost some of the heat here off the coast of Florida due to some upwelling and some showers and thunderstorms, but still running really warm down here in the northwestern Caribbean, up to about 30 to 31 Celsius, and the southern Gulf there in the Bay of Campeche running about 30 Celsius. Sea surface temperature anomalies really far above average in the Gulf and the northwestern Caribbean. And we don't have upper ocean heat content because it hasn't changed much from yesterday. It's pretty high. It really is. And that's all we really have for you. Okay. Let's go to this. This is my Atlantic and tropical storm activity climatology. Where are we in relative to the season? Okay, so some of you are probably asking right now. And so, simple way to put it, so based on data, and so some of this that you see, some of this writing that you see here and the arrow and whatnot, that is actually annotated by me. Okay, so I figured out the calculations. I did some mathematical equations and got these numbers. So I hope you all like it. I hope you all do. And as we go through the season, this progresses to the right. So once we get into July 1st, you'll see it that the arrow moves over. So that's why I like showing this quite often for you all. So you can see here, as of, by the way, this is not June 1st, even so the arrow's pointing from the 1. It's actually June the 7th. And on this particular day, how I look at it, or how I look at it as in, is from 1944 to 2020, there have been 8 named storms that have formed on this day of June 7th. And 2 hurricanes have formed in that same period, which means the chances of getting a hurricane is very low. Okay, there's just no chance at all. And if you want to be specific, the chances are even lower by the middle of June. Okay, there's a couple of days in there that there has not been a hurricane that has formed on the 14th or the 15th of June. Ever. And if I got that wrong, just let me know in the chat. But based on this data, yeah, June is a very inactive month for hurricanes. But for tropical storms, it's a little different. Now, of course, when we get to the peak of hurricane season, which is on the 10th of September, then we could start snouting and be like, okay, from 1944 to 2020, there have been 115 tropical storms and 57 hurricanes that have formed and their origin points developed on that particular day, which means the chances of you getting a hurricane on the 10th of September is much higher, if not almost likely, every year than, say, the 7th of June, which means late August into early to mid-September is a very, very busy month in the hurricane season department for the tropics. Okay. And now that leads me to this. Where are we at in relative to where we are supposed to be? So one thing for sure, I will tell you right now that so far 0 ace points. So we are 0. We have not had a named storm yet. So we cannot say, oh, we have had a named storm. So we are definitely down there in the ranking. I mean, we're even dead than some of our more active seasons. But that's not to say, look at down here, 2010. 165 ace points. That season was even more dead than it is now, if that really makes sense. Okay, and it only takes one. It only takes one. Look at Beryl. Beryl produced like almost 100 ace points, something like that, off of one single named storm. It was the second named storm of the season. Okay, that's all it takes. And that's how you can get a really busy season, just from an ace points perspective. Now, even so, there has been some active tropical activity in the Eastern Pacific. It is also below average. It is only ranking at 32 right now with its ace points. And it is down there in some of the seasons where they were below average, except for 1978. That had 194.5 ace points that year. So in other words, both basins are running below average right now as far as it goes in the tropics. Okay, one last thing that I wanted to show you all is that the trade winds have been stronger than average. And with that, let's go over to here. And so you're going to see a map like this. All this purple shows us where the where our low-level wind anomalies are easterly. So purple colors are easterly wind anomalies. Red and orange colors are westerly wind anomalies, which means the trade winds are weaker than they should be. So they're going to be indeed westerly wind anomalies versus easterly. Okay. And so as we go forward in time, you can see that our trade winds are going to remain quite strong for the next 7 days or so. But after that point, it does look like we are going to see a reduction in our trade winds, at least more deeper in the deep tropics. Like in the main development region, we are likely to see a reduction in the trade winds with much stronger easterly winds in the lower levels in the north central Atlantic. And when we actually run through that, you can see with what I mean. You can clearly tell with what we're looking for. And when we look at our wind shear anomaly, our wind shear is going to be stronger than normal. And you can see why. All through here, you got stronger westerly wind anomalies that are, westerly wind shear anomalies. That is what I'm looking for. And some of this is pretty strong. There you have it, 60 knots of actual wind shear over the course of I think this is, 5-day average. So that's pretty significant. So yeah, definitely unfavorable in the Atlantic for a while. Okay, do you guys have any questions? Do you guys have any questions about the hurricane season and what my thoughts are? I'm sure you guys got those already. but I would like to interact with you all for at least probably another 15 or 20 minutes. So if you guys have any questions, please let me know right now. I'm waiting for those in the chat here. What's up, Nate Long? How are you doing? Hey, David, I'm in the Tallahassee area. I'd love to do storm coverage for you while the time, or when the time comes. Oh, yeah. Absolutely. Yeah, with my new setup, that is going to be possible. That is actually going to be possible. When is my birthday? In November. That's when my birthday actually is. So, yeah, if you guys have any questions, please ask those. Because we're going to be here for a while answering your guys' questions. That's what I want to do. Instead of ignoring you all, we want to talk to you guys. But yeah, look at this. What the GFS is sniffing out. Look at that big high pressure. Yeah, definitely a lot different than last year. I'll tell you that. That's a very strong surface high up there. That's very far out in time, so I'm not. But it's been showing up in models, though, that high is going to be there. What's your next question, Joseph? David, just do a... Do you plan to do live with special guests? It depends if they want to connect with me. It's not up to me. It's up to them. I have Ethan B. I have at least one person. A lot of you know Ethan B already, so he's not really a special guest. Oh, just to hear some real stories. Nah. What's up, VR? How are you doing? The MDR waters will be hot during the peak. Oh, of course, they're already really warm. Well, rather warm, but slightly below average, depending on what part you're looking at. How often do marine heat waves happen in the Atlantic? They're happening more frequently due to climate change. Excuse me, I'm not going to say global warming, but I will say climate change. I'm not going to get into why about global warming and stuff. I don't want to add that into the stream, but what I will say is marine heat waves are becoming more frequent just because the lack of trade winds in given parts of the world, when those winds slacken for long periods of time, the oceans tend to warm up. What's up, Brittany Parker? How are you doing? These lights are really bright. I'm going to actually put this down over here, and that will just be just as good. The GFS is on crack this year compared to last year. Yeah. We could all say that right now. Literally. Well, it is and isn't. It is because it's spitting out storms over the Caribbean and the Gulf, but it's not in the Eastern Pacific because it's supported by other models. So it is and isn't at the same time. Will Houston, Texas going to get hit by a hurricane? The chances are a bit higher this year because of the Bermuda High being stronger. What Galveston looking in the next 2 weeks? I hear this is a low pressure that rather will push north towards Galveston or push west towards Mexico. So, yeah, there is some curiosity with that. And so right now, this is what it really is going to do more than anything. It's going to be just a big blob of heavy rainfall. Wherever it hits, it's not really going to be the wind variety with this system. It's going to be mainly the strong wind variety that the tropical area of disturbed weather will have with it. I'm doing very good, Brittany. I'm excited for the hurricane season because, man, I got my whole scene collection ready to go. You guys all want to see that? I got a picture on my phone. This is what it looks like behind the scenes, but you guys will see this differently, and that is just because of its behind the scenes. So this, let's see if I can flip that around so y'all can see that even better. So this is what it's going to actually look like. So of course, 2 radar programs, one to actually look at 3D so we could do volumetric scans of hurricanes and storms. And the one on the bottom is Radar Omega. That has live cameras. That has realist or live analysis. And this right here is the whole reason why I upgraded my setup. That is actually like 16 live cameras. So you can literally see everything on there. So you could literally see that whole setup. And that's what I'll be running off of. And then, of course, right over here on this monitor is the output. That's what you will all be seeing relative to with what I'm seeing. I have 5 monitors. You're only looking at this through one monitor or your cell phone or so on and so forth. So that is what you'll be looking at that through. David, we need to have some merch. You know what? If you said merch, you, my brother, can give yourself a huge round of applause. That's because we do have merchandise. We do have a store. And so, if you all want to check that out, which, by the way, I have to even see if I got any transactions from y'all. If anyone bought anything from my store yet, I have to do more work on this. So this is what you're going to find on the channel. This is not going to be very much at all, but this is a Weather Force merchandise pendant necklace. If you actually click on this, you can see what it looks like. So this is my slogan, life-saving David S, reliable and honest, with my logo in the middle. That's one product. And then here are different products that you can view, which, by the way, this is Chat GPT generated. That's kind of the little underline. Boy, I love Chat GPT with these things. I can generate all kinds of stuff with it. And then here You can see the front, reliable, honest content creator. I know it kind of looks a little off, but I think it looks pretty good. You guys got to let me know what you guys think. And then the back says, oh, wait, no. The back, this is the back. Established 9/14/2023 is when this channel was established. And then the front has a hurricane and a tornado, and it says just David Schlotthauer. And then here's a shirt. And this is just white in the back. And then the front has just a hurricane image with David Schlotthauer. That's all it has. So if you guys are willing to step up to the plate and help me get more merch out there. Oh, here's a mug, by the way, so you can purchase a mug as well. And you can find that on my YouTube channel just by going to store right here. There's a tab, home, videos, shorts, live, posts, membership, and then go to the store and you can find all of the product that has been released as of now. I only have 4 things out just because I've been really busy with other things outside of YouTube that have not allowed me to really put like dedication time into it, but I will try to add more to that down the road. Probably not until I hit 50,000 subs. So start small with 4 products out there. Yeah, I'm going pretty far on my channel as far as merchandise goes. It's been a while. I mean, I wanted merchandise. Some of you have been asking about merchandise. I'm like, yep, I think that was the perfect time to do it too. Thank you, Nate Long, for that. You actually reminded me. I didn't have to remind myself. If there's a raincoat added, I'll put it in an order for 1,000. Yeah, I'm hoping to I'm probably going to put winter stuff out probably in the fall. I'll probably be making some merchandise for that. David, will you be using your plane this year? What, like, do you mean in Flight Simulator? Interesting. Yes and no. Maybe I'll do one live stream. I'll have to see, because see, here's the thing. If I fly into a tropical system, it's going to have to be way out there and it's not going to impact anybody. But if it's going to be a big threat to the Caribbean, I probably won't do that. But they did release the C-130J inside a Microsoft Flight Simulator, except they did not add the radar or any of the computer database textures in the plane itself. So it's like a normal C-130 Hercules plane that you're flying. It's a Hurricane Hunter plane, but that just doesn't do much. But at least I got that. I mean, I got the C-130. David, I'm a pilot. I can help you with all that stuff. I don't fly in real life, Nate Long. If you're asking, hey, David, wait, no. It's Microsoft Flight Simulator. And by the way, if you want to help me, though, anyways, hit me up on Discord. I have a Discord server. You can check me out there. Right here, it's Weather Force. You can find it right here, Weather Force. Let me actually, there's a link. Or did I not put the link in? I'm sorry if I didn't. Crapola. I don't think this is the Discord link. Or is it? I think it is. Might be the Discord link. So this should be it. Let me see if that works. If it works, good. The link works. Has a GFS ever been correct? There are some scenarios that the GFS can be correct. I don't really think too hard on like looking back at day 10 and looking at day 1 if the GFS has been consistent like that. because every model's not going to be 100% correct. It really isn't. I mean, up until landfall, a hurricane, or like Milton, 5 hours before landfall, we thought it was going to make landfall here, but in reality, it might make landfall 5 miles north or something from where we thought the landfall would be. So the exact landfall is, models are not going to get it 100% billion% correct. It's just not possible. It's just not. What we look for is the hurricane going to be intense up until landfall? Where is it going to hit? Why is it going to hit? Those are the tools that we use as forecasters to predict what's going to happen. We want to be as accurate with location as we can, but models only can do us so much. David, will you alert people before it hits the Gulf? When Hurricane Laura hit, they never alert people by the time they told us to leave. It was too late. Yes. So for those that are watching this live stream, so when a hurricane, let me bring up Radar Omega. Let's bring up Radar Omega, and I'll give you guys some examples on that. So let's go to that. Okay. Sorry, this is in a Google Maps format. I'll have to change that. I was doing some work with Easy, with our coordinator, actually, that will be working with me during the hurricane season, will actually be helping me live stream. So if I'm away doing something, he will be behind the scenes working on transitions and other cool stuff. So that way, even so I'm not here, we will be live streaming a hurricane. So let's just say, and I showed Easy this. So let's just say a hurricane is right here. Okay, let's just pretend it's a Cat 4 or Cat 5 hurricane. And it makes landfall over here. Okay, and let's just say, oops, let me actually turn this off. So let's put the big red spot. So let's just say this is going to be a Cat 5 hurricane right there. Okay. And then let's draw our line and make it like that. And so let's just say this is day 1, day 2, and then day 3. So how that would work is to make sure you all are weather aware. I'm getting the alert out to people is within 2 days, or within 24 hours. So within this bracket here, we would be doing a live stream from here all the way up until landfall. So this whole area, we would be doing a landfall, probably even a little sooner if necessary. If it's a Cat 5, we might even stretch that thin to even 30 hours if necessary. So even further out before a hurricane makes landfall, we would be live streaming this for 30 hours, up to even 30 hours if necessary. But of course, if it's further out than that, like 2 days, like 48 hours, we would do live stream discussions with one tropical video in the morning to cover that risk. So in other words, I would wake up at like 1 or 2 in the morning, make my video, have it released on the channel by 3 or 4 in the morning Pacific Daylight Time. So that would be 6 or 7 Eastern Daylight Time, followed by a live stream discussion overview on that tropical system, if that makes sense. What I just showed you was an example, a timeline example of how things are going to work on the channel, okay? For those that are watching, because some of you are watching, like wondering, like, when is David going to live stream, or how long is my live stream going to be on a hurricane landfall? We are going to attempt 30 hours if necessary. At the very worst, if it's like a Category 5 hurricane like Ian was when it got very close to making landfall, like Milton, those were intense. Those two would deserve a 24 plus hour live stream. Okay. So that's how that's going to work. I will probably make some graphics and make this a little bit more detail on how that's going to all work out when it comes to live streaming. But rest assured, I don't want you all to worry. I will keep you guys updated. Don't you freaking worry. Dude, I'm going to be probably hiring someone. More than likely, I'm hiring Easy, the one that you've heard on the stream, the one that's been in the chat. If I'm not around, he's going to be live streaming for me, and we are going to give you groundbreaking coverage. Okay, we are going to make this a life-saving deal for you all when it comes to a tropical storm or hurricane landfall near you. Okay, near you. So does that make sense? Do you guys understand? Do you guys... And that's why I have the 5 computer screens. Okay, that's exactly why I got 5 computer monitors. Okay, one for all live cameras, because we are going to have at least a bare minimum of 15 to 30 live cameras actually looking at storm surge, wind damage, trees falling down, everything. We're going to have live radar, live satellite imagery. We're going to have live recon data. It is going to be the Captain Cook of America when it comes to live streaming. It's going to be insane. It's going to be exciting. I'm just hoping my computer could handle it, because woo, we're going to be putting up a lot of moving parts. It's going to be crazy. Yep. Thank you, Nate Long. I do appreciate that. Yeah, I'm going to be transparent and honest. When I overhype something, I'll let you guys know that I felt like in yesterday's video, I did go over the top with my thumbnail, and that was experimental, and the reviews off of it, no good. They were not good, because it clearly states when I did 2 different videos, one with a clickbaity-ish thumbnail and one with not, my click-through rate was actually 10% higher than the video that was not clickbait, which means that what I did yesterday was clearly clickbait, which was not the right way to do it. And I'm really trying to pull away from doing that, especially in the tropics. But I do have to add a little bit of spice to the thumbnails, or else, you know, especially when it's something really big, like a Cat 5 hurricane, I'm going to clickbait. I'm going to clickbait a Cat 5 hurricane when it actually happens. That's unavoidable. You can't just put like, oh, it's a Cat 1 hurricane headed for Tampa Bay, Florida, but forecasts call for a Cat 5. It's like, okay, you're not clickbaiting, you're under clickbaiting or something. And I will tell you, many YouTubers, and I'm going to be transparent with all of you. You guys probably watch. Who do you all watch on YouTube in the weather department? You probably watch a lot of other YouTubers, and they do the same thing. They literally clickbait, and they actually get tons of views. And what really disappoints me, and I'm not going to bring this really much into the live stream, they don't get terrible comments. They get away with it. They really do. But when I do it, it's probably because you guys are coaching me and you guys are trying to make me the best weather YouTuber out there, which is perfectly fine. A lot of people watch Ryan Hall, y'all. Nice. Nazario, nice. What's up, Red X? Max Velocity, sweet. Yeah, I'll tell ya, Max Velocity and Ryan Hall, y'all are the streaming kings. And I later found out after I upgraded my setup, and this is a coincidence. No, I am not copying Max Velocity or Ryan Hall, y'all. So if you guys think I'm copying Max Velocity or Ryan Hall, y'all, sorry, I'm not. But literally after I got this setup, and I'm like, man, I got to get 5 monitors. It's time for an upgrade. And I was just like, man, I was doing research for a new table for everything. And literally, I just like it on YouTube. I don't know if you guys like this, how YouTubers that have 1 million plus subscribers decide, oh, let's make a video and take a tour of the house or upload an image of a cat sitting on someone's office or someone's table and having all the screens there. And I'm like, no way. No way do I have the setup like these other YouTubers. It's a coincidence. It literally is a coincidence that I got 5 monitors. The only thing that they don't have that I have is the lights, and they change color. So the lights that I have is actually Pixel LCS, and what they actually do is if we actually go in here, we can make them red. Yeah, look how red I look. Then look how purple. So I could literally make these different colors. See how red I look? So I can just go crazy at changing things. So if I even turn it off, I'll look a lot more greener. Wow, I look very green. And then I look very red. So I can make myself look very red. In this case, it is very red in here. And then this is very blue. And let's go back. And then that's regular. So, yeah. Wow, that actually hurt my eyes. That blue light. Oh, my. Probably not going to use that again. Probably not going to use that again. Don't ever have blue light on in your room. It's actually in the ultraviolet spectrum-ish. Man, that kind of messed with my eyes a little bit. Probably got to be careful next time not to have that on. And it could also do other things too. I mean, it's not just that. Seizure warning, everyone. Seizure warning. It could have lightning. So there could be lightning in this room. Yeah. It can do a lot of effects. So it's like, it's incredible. The lights are like about $350. Leave it on lightning. Yeah. Nah. Seizure warning. It's not professional to have it on constantly, but sometimes if there's like a Cat 5 hurricane, like if there's like a tornado like for my severe weather, I might be like, oh, got a tornado warning. Got it. And I might flip the lights like this. I might alternate and just say, oh, we have a tornado warning. We have to turn it on and make myself look a little red or something. Yeah, so it's pretty helpful. It's regional advection forecasts. Nate Long, I don't do aviation forecasts. The only thing I really know about aviation is they use Zulu time. And just their code, their meter coding, like how they explain things is they'll say, airport information for KSFO, clouds scattered at 10, like flight level 20. Winds 15 at 15 or 15. Altimeter 299.5. It's like, okay, what does this mean? So there's some things that it just, you know a lot more about aviation than me. I gotta come to you for stuff. You're an aviation expert. I'm a weather expert. We are two different things, right? So yeah, what do you guys think of the studio? I cannot wait to put it to great use. Oh my gosh, I'm dying hard. I'm dying my life off to put it to the test. Thank you so much, Joseph. You love it? Studio looks great. Thanks. I'm glad you like the studio. The studio will cause many hurricanes this year. Oh. You know what? That's right. Because you know why? Because my room gets very muggy. Because usually I like the door closed, so the air gets stuffy in here, and it could be like 105 in here, and the dew point being like 84 degrees. It is sweltering in here. So yes, indeed, my studio can form a hurricane if it wanted to. If my studio was like 5,000 miles across, then we would be dealing with a hurricane. Yeah. Oh, Elizabeth. Yeah. 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 Some inside climatology in my room. My room temperature can hit 100+ degrees under certain serious heat waves that last long enough. And the dew point, with the help of this little majiggy guy, Kestrel 5500, had a dew point in this room up to 83 degrees. Yeah, 83 degrees. And the heat index was 125 degrees. This go around with this computer would be absolutely dangerous. In fact, that could be a problem. I'm hoping that's why I'm glad we're getting our air conditioner fixed on Monday. Giddens Brothers is coming out. Is going to be fixing our AC unit, because our whole house air conditioner, because it is still not working. We need some voice changing sound effects. Oh, I got that for ya. How does this sound?
We'll run that for a while. Now, of course, I will not do this when we actually have a intense hurricane, but this is because there's just a little Q&A kind of thing right now, so I sound like Alvin there. Yeah. Yeah. Oh my gosh, people are laughing. Oh my gosh.
But what about that? You won't think I'm laughing. You won't laugh at me on this one, or maybe you will. You guys like that? Oh my gosh. I am a monster.
So you like the monster one? I like Alvin, though. You know, Alvin would work so
good, especially when we had Tropical Storm Alvin. I was a beast. Well, I was not a beast because I didn't hit any land areas. But if I did, I would be a beast. I would be a big chipmunk.
You like Alvin? Oh, yeah. But also this other thing could do this. So I could run literally, I could like run music. I might use that. The wah, 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 wah. If there's like a big hurricane or something, if we get a new update, I would be like, darn it. Something like that. So those are actually sound effects, not really. It's part of the mic system. And I could just run that. It's just, yeah. Yeah, I'm telling you, this setup, no one has a setup like this. No one has a setup. Except, I will agree, Ryan Hall and Max Velocity have at least more than 5 monitors. 5 or more monitors. That's all we kind of share in common in the lighting. But the audio interface, they don't have that. They don't have it at all. That's a sad sound. Oh, well, it's a not good too, right? It needs to be said. It needs to be a not good sound. I do. People think I don't know anyone in the weather community. You know how many YouTubers I know in the weather community? Well, I don't personally know them, but I actually follow them. Oh man, we can go on. We can go all day with this. We got a lot. I follow a lot of people. And funny enough, I don't even watch them. How does that sound for you all? I don't watch anybody, but I follow them. So Deciphering Weather, I'm subscribed to. Direct Weather, I'm subscribed to. And you guys are probably like, what? You're subscribed to Direct Weather? I never knew that. And that's just because I'm subscribed because I'm subscribed. So I've subscribed to people to just to keep tabs on what they're uploading. It's kind of more of inspiration. It's pretty much, you know, no one's really talking about the tropics except me and Mr. Weatherman. I think those are, yeah, it's only me and Mr. Weatherman and Pat that talk about the tropics and Weather Nazario. Got some contact. Well, when it comes to live streaming on the tropics, I don't want to use my, what is it called? My ego on this. And I'm not trying to get that far into my ego, but I'm the Ryan Hall y'all in the tropics. Like Ryan Hall y'all is big in the severe weather department along to go with Evan Freiberger and Max Velocity. But when it comes to the tropics, I am going to be like the Ryan Hall y'all kind of deal, if that makes sense. If you guys follow me on that. Of course, I am not affiliated with Ryan Hall y'all. I'm not trying to copycat any other YouTubers out there. As you know, I'm not. It's a coincidence that my graphics card in my computer could hold up to 4 monitors, plus my HDMI motherboard port could support up to 1 monitor. So that makes 5 computer monitors. So I'm like, I could actually go and I could upgrade. I can get a new table and literally just like upgrade my office. We need to, excuse me. Oh my gosh. We need to glaze David more. Like, polish him up. Thank you. Yeah. Oh, I'm polished enough. Grow as you go. I like that. Nursery rhyme. Grow as you go. That's not why I'm doing YouTube. I want people to kind of realize that. I am not doing YouTube just so I can get big on YouTube. I'm doing it because I love doing this. Otherwise, I wouldn't be doing it of this very day on the planet Earth. So, yeah. But I might be starting to upload in the morning. because based on my analytics, because I seem to get a second jump in my viewership between like 3 in the morning, 3 to 6 in the morning. It always goes up significantly. So I might be experimenting with that, uploading at 6 in the morning and then reserving the afternoon videos for like for big updates, you know, like do a yin yang, move my typical afternoon videos to the morning. I don't do YouTube, only chats. Okay. What was your background before this? I just currently started watching you. That's great. Welcome then, Nate, as a new viewer. So I've been doing YouTube for a while, since 2017, but I'm not going to get into the deeper story, but there have been some many issues in the past in the weather community. I'm not going to get into it. I really don't want to get into it. It was a bad, very rough past, let's just say, but I got through it and I'm here today. Even so they're not completely gone, I'm going to fight. I'm going to ignore and I'm going to move on. But yeah, I've been doing YouTube technically since 2017, but had different channels in the past. So you can kind of say 3 years, but you could also kind of say since 2017. Yeah, exactly. They are no more drama. I'm talking to you, Joseph. What's up? What's up, Dopey? That I know you're loyal. What's up? What's up? But I do love you guys. I am excited to track hurricane season because I get to talk to you guys a lot more. I get to talk to my audience. This is like so cool. I'm talking to you all. But the sad thing is, wouldn't it be cool is if YouTube set something up to when each viewer joins, it has like a little webcam up there and you just have this panel of viewers that are actually watching you in real time. Oh, that would be cool. It's 1 a.m. Gotta sleep. Good stream. Thank you, the R. I do. Thank you for tuning in, brother. What's up, Josh? Weatherman Plus was the first YouTube weather guide that I started watching. Nice. Yeah, Weatherman Plus isn't bad. Of course, I don't want to think anyone's bad. I'm very neutral in that sense. Everyone has their own way of forecasting, and that's what makes us unique. Thank you, Nate Long. So, Nate Long, message me on Discord. That's a Discord server. I think you're in already. No, you're not. David, how do we boost jobs in the private sector? Not related. Any tropical storms we can look forward to in the Gulf? No. This is still, though, popping up on the GFS. So it's going to be interesting to see if it still shows up in future model runs. This is a 5-day forecast, and that is a lot of rainfall, lots of upward motion in this part of the tropics. So it is going to be interesting. Okay. Another one I watch is Pal Ponder. Oh yeah, I like Pal Ponder. Like I said, everyone, the people that you're talking about, I follow. I mean, I just don't watch them. I will see if they have uploaded something. That's how I strategize my content. That's why I'm doing the tropics, because no one really talks about it. Okay, it is getting late. It is 10 o'clock. But anyways, thank you all for tuning in. Have a great night. I want to make it clear and stated here, I will not have time for any tropical update tomorrow. That is because I have church in the morning, and then I'm helping out at church with a church event. It's Mega Family Sunday. So families come out, we have a barbecue, we have some fun, jump houses, water slides and stuff. So I'm going to be helping out with that and coordinating everything, not coordinating everything, but helping out, volunteering. And then I have work at 3 o'clock in the afternoon. So I am going to be very busy. I will not be home once I wake up at 7 in the morning. So no update will be out tomorrow, but I will return to normal programming on the channel on Monday. And schedule based, we're looking good all week. I'll be having a video out pretty much every single day from Monday all the way out to Saturday the following week, a week from today. All right. Have a good one, you guys. I'll see you guys back here on Monday. Love you guys and hope to see you all here with my next tropical video. Peace.
Out. And the chipmunk is going to say goodnight too. Good night, everybody.
That's right. Thank you, Chipmunk, for saying goodnight.
You're welcome.
Peace out.